Yo, what's up guys, Gray here, and today we have got our final week of the main season of the APA Academy. We're going up against GrandMaster D.Rey or Dre, I don't know which one it is, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, and his San Diego Snugglers, I do believe. And this match was kind of a weird one because we both have sand, as you can see, and sand actually runs through me, and it also kind of runs through his team as well. And it was just this weird kind of matchup where I had nothing for sand and he had nothing for my sand, but it was almost going to come down to like whose Excadrill can win the speed tie, I felt. So my prep was specifically to try and stop that situation happening, and I felt like I had the better answers to his Excadrill, but he had better answers to the rest of my team, so to speak. But getting into the team builder, first up we have got Golisopod with Heavy Duty Boots, First Impression, Aquajet, Liquidation, and Knockoff. Knockoff is because Milotic is a very safe switch into my Golisopod, and I will knock off a potential Flame Orb or a potential Leftovers, because whittling that thing down with sand and just chip damage puts it in a good position for my Excadrill late game. And outside of that, Aquajet does over half to Excadrill depending on its investment, and First Impression does a ton of damage to quite a few things on his team, mostly the stuff he didn't bring. And Liquidation, he has very few switches in, especially if the Milotic goes down. He does not appreciate a Liquidation particularly. And yeah, and next up we've got Rotom Wash with Light Clay, Volt Switch, Reflect, Light Screen, and Pain Split, running Mixed Bulk. No water type move against an Excadrill because, you know, why not? If he brings Mold Breaker, that's a bit of a problem, but we work around it. And then we got our Greedent with Citrus Berry, Cheek Pouch, Body Slam, Crunch, Earthquake, and Swords Dance. Surprisingly a good check to his Dragapult. I say check, it's quite a loose check, but it is a check of some description. And it also kind of can switch in and be like something that causes him problems. If there's a double down or something like that, then Greedent comes in and actually kind of forces switches depending on what he brings in. And then next up we've got our Tyranitar with Weakness Policy, Sandstream, Stone Edge, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Dragon Dance. If I can get 2 Dragon Dances up, I just win, like straight up. There is nothing on his team that realistically can take down a +2, especially if I get the Weakness Policy boost. If I get to +2, he's done, effectively. Like, Tyranitar behind the screens, I don't think there's any moves that can 2-hit KO me outside of Virizion Sacred Sword or Earthquake from a Excadrill of its Life Orb. I think that's like the only 2 things that can actually do the damage. So Tyranitar goes from setting up the sand to being my win con this week. Excadrill is Shucker Berry with Earthquake, Poison Jab, Rock Blast, and Swords Dance. I decided to go Shucker because it can 1v1 his Excadrill if I play it that way. Poison Jab and Rock Blast were really nice coverage for his team. Poison Jab hitting the Virizion and the Togekiss. Iron Head would have done the same thing, and realistically probably been better, but I felt like he's got quite a safe switch into his Milotic if I'm going to click Iron Head. So Poison Jab gives me the chance to poison as well. Rock Blast hits quite a few other things on the team, basically what he didn't bring. I think there's a couple of things on his team that he didn't bring that it hit. An Earthquake is just really spammable once his Togekiss and his Virizion go down, or I weaken his Virizion to a point at which he dies to just an Earthquake. Then we've got Aromatisse with Leftovers, Moonblast, Aromatherapy, Wish, and Protect. Mostly physically defensive, but with a bit of special defense investment. This is my kind of first answer to Dragapult. If I then have to switch into my Greedent, then I switch into my Greedent on hopefully a death from my Aromatisse, so I get a free switch in. But also it deals with any kind of version of Virizion. If it sets up a Swords Dance, then I can Moonblast it and I'll kill it before it kills me. And unless he predicts me to go for a Protect, I think I need to Protect on 1 turn to be able to potentially live a second Leaf Blade from it. But that's the team. And we're going to lead off with Golisopod. It actually has a pretty decent lead matchup, and I really didn't want to give his Excadrill any free plays, I believe. So, no, actually, sorry, I go into my Rotom because I felt like Rotom getting the screens up first is like the ideal play. And we're actually going to see he's also Mold Breaker, so he didn't bring the Sand Rush either. I guess I overwrote him. It makes absolute sense. And we're going to go out into our Golisopod, take that Earthquake just fine. That actually shows me that he's not got a boosting item. Or if he does, it's not... it could be like Expert Belt or something like that. And we're going to go for the knockoff. If we can knock off an item on the Excadrill, that's fantastic. There's no Mons outside of Virizion, really, that want to take that knockoff. And to me, this always seemed like a fairly safe switch in. He didn't want to take a first impression on his Virizion. He didn't really want to take a liquidation on it as well. So I kind of it makes sense for him to go into his Milotic. I'm going to knock off the leftovers, which is really nice. And this gives me a chance to go into my Rotom as he actually reveals the Hypnosis and hits it, which is kind of wild. That's I did not expect that at all. And I'm going to double out into my Golisopod because I did not expect him to stay in. I expected him to go out potentially into his Excadrill to try an Earthquake again. There's no way I'm waking up that first turn, but I also have Aromatherapy on my Aromatisse. So if he does go into Virizion like he has to take on my Rotom, then I can first impression and then be taken down to my emergency exit by a Stone Edge potentially, and go into my Aromatisse and hopefully get an Aromatherapy off on a switch. Aromatisse is a little bit of a worry for me because he does get a free switch into Excadrill every time it comes in. But as long as my Golisopod has a little bit of health, then it's fine. Like, I still have that switch in, and I can sack it if I need to. But he's going to go for a Stone Edge and get a crit, and that's actually kind of quite big because it puts me in range of an Earthquake now from his Excadrill, so I can't realistically bring it back in. And here I'm going for Aromatherapy, wake up my Rotom. I don't think he's going to have a chance potentially to Hypnosis again. And so on this turn, I kind of expect him to just go for Rocks. If he has Heavy Slam, I don't want to take that hit. And Aromatisse really has still got a big part to play, whilst my Rotom can kind of set up screens against this Gigalith just fine. And I'm going to go out into my... not predicting the Toxic at all. I went out into my Excadrill because this was my best chance to really kind of... I thought to set up, but at the same time, like, I didn't think ahead quick enough. Like, didn't think far enough ahead to think that there's still plenty of things on his team that could do enough damage. And if I take a Body Press, then I'm then in range of a Excadrill Earthquake even through my Sugar. So not the best play for me, but I'm still going to throw off the Earthquake anyway. See what he's going to go for. He does go for the Body Press, and that does put me in range of Shucker. If I had just set up an SD there, then I'd be in a better position. But still got switch in, and here he goes into his Togekiss. I kind of went into Rotom as like a middle ground sort of play. Went for Body Press again. I can take one just fine and Pain Split and be able to take another, hopefully, I think after Sand. And if we went into anything else outside of the Excadrill, which was a very risky switch for him, then then Rotom was a pretty safe switch into everything else. As he does go into his Togekiss, I wasn't sure whether this would be Scarfed or what kind of set it would be, but if it was Nasty Plot, then I Pain Split and I get the health back. If it's Chewy Scarf, I Pain Split and get even more health back. So I just click Pain Split as he goes for the Dazzling Gleam, and I get up to a relatively good amount of health. And I'm just going to throw up a Light Screen on this turn because I knew I could take a Dazzling Gleam afterwards just fine. And as you can see, we actually take that Leaf Blade absolutely just no problem at all. And I'm going to throw off a Wish. I really should have just gone like a double straight into my Golisopod on that turn, expecting the Drill to come in. But unfortunately, we are going to lose our Golisopod that turn, and we are kind of lacking things to take down this Excadrill. So I'm going to have to start setting. I need to set up a Reflect. I think Reflect is more important than Light Screen at this point. But if I can set up a Reflect and get Tyranitar in on his Gigalith, then that's like the optimal time for me, because Body Press is going to hurt. It's going to do about 30%, but it doesn't 2-hit KO me, and that's the 2 Dragon Dances I need, as well as the Weakness Policy boost that I need to win this game. So I'm going to go I go into my Greedent. I'm just going to click Earthquake. His Excadrill is far too much of a threat for me to mess around with. If I get a Body Slam Paralysis there, then I can fairly safely switch into my Rotom and get I can get a safe switch into my Rotom regardless, but now I just need to get a Reflect up. He wants to Stone Edge me. That should take me down, and actually puts me in a position where I got a fresh Reflect up, and my Tyranitar can come in. And here I'm just going to click Dragon Dance. I kind of see no reason for him to go for anything else than Body Press. I feel like he was just going to click it, and if he's going to switch, he's going to switch into his Milotic, and even after a burn, there's a good chance, because I've weakened a lot of his mons, there's a good chance that I still am able to sweep, at least like do enough damage that hopefully I can then win the late game with Excadrill, or potentially with Greedent plus Aromatisse. It was a kind of a loose end game because I was just kind of banking on winning at this point. So I go for a Dragon Dance, and I'm going to have to get greedy and set up a second one to be able to outspeed everything on his team outside of potentially like a Scarfed Dragon Ball, and we don't get the burn. And at this point, there's a very, very strong chance I just sweep. It is a roll on this against max defense Milotic, but I didn't believe he was max defense. The roll was still like 80% in my favor for this Earthquake to kill, but that knockoff damage from earlier in the game kind of made me believe that maybe he was more specially defensive, and so this Earthquake should always kill, and it does. And now we're in a position where, unless this is a Scarf Virizion, then my Tyranitar can just sweep, and if he doesn't have Sacred Sword, then he doesn't kill me. But my play, regardless, I think is always just to go for the Ice Punch. I'm set up now, I'm not going to have another chance to do it, so I'm just going to click the Ice Punch, and he is not Scarf Virizion. Then he presents his Togekiss. If this is Scarfed, I think it may have outsped me, depending on his investment. Actually, I don't think it did. I don't think there was any world in which it outsped me. I was at 232 speed here, so the only thing that could outspeed me was the Scarf Dragon Ball, and the fact that he didn't go Dragon Ball straight away leads me to believe that either he was a physical Dragon Ball or he wasn't Scarfed. And here we're just going to claim kills. Tyranitar is actually going to pick up all 6, and we're going to win this game 4-0. I'm so glad that I was able to end the season with a Tyranitar sweep. Obviously Tyranitar is my mascot. I've never been able to sweep with Tyranitar at any point. I don't really ever bring a setup Tyranitar. Usually I bring much more bulkier sets. I bring sets to like allow other things to win a game. So for me to be able to actually win a game with Tyranitar is really nice. I got super lucky in not getting the burn. It's a 30% chance. But when it's Scald, you're never sure. Like, it's like an 80% chance most of the time. But good game to D.Rey or Dre, whichever one it is. And we're going to end the season 9-1. And I could not be happier with this season. Just to kind of sum up the season very, very quickly. This season is way, way past my expectation. I was hoping to go evens, because there's a lot of good battlers in this league. I was hoping to just go like break even, maybe squeeze into playoffs. But we just, like, the amount of time I put into prep and the time that I think, like, I have a game plan for every game, which I don't, it's such an improvement from where I was like 6 months ago. I think my prep for this season has been a mixture of like my comfort pick of Sandcore, and Sandcore being really, really strong, and just having a really good draft with it. We're going into playoffs and we might lose first round of playoffs. If that happens, it is what it is. Like, I'm just happy to have had the season I've had, and to be able to go 9-1 in a league and only lose because I brought way too much spice against PlatinumHowler. Like, I count that as a very, very, very good season. And I'm sad I didn't get to play a few people in this league who are unfortunately not going to make it due to playoffs. I do feel like I've had a really hard run, because looking at the league table, the top 6 who are like the I think they're like the guaranteed bye or whatever. I think I completely worked out how the playoff system worked when I was talking about buys in the last video. But we do get a bye regardless, and then we go into like seeding for top 8, I believe. But of the top 6, the ones who get the first round bye, I faced 4 of the 5 in the only person I haven't faced with Vepsis. I faced everybody else, and considering that top 6 is 8 or 2 and worse, 8 and 2 and better, I think that's like really, really good for me to have beaten all of them. Like, the only reason that Shuckleking, Mid, and Shuckleking and Mid have got a loss is against me. which, like, to think they could also be unbeaten for the season. We could have like 3 teams unbeaten. It's kind of wild. And we got very lucky against Zombie in that game, and he is 8-2, so we've only lost 1 game outside of that. But playoffs look tough, and I'm definitely going to have to play it match by match, but depending on where we seed depends on like who we face, but there's a good chance we face somebody that we've already faced so far this season. So without rambling on too much at the end of this video, hopefully you join me in playoffs. We'll see who we get. I don't know at the moment, but if you did enjoy the video, and if you have enjoyed the season, please do leave a like and subscribe. I will be posting way more Draft League content, maybe the odd showdown live, depending on like how often I can record. But until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.